You've just watched a golfer make what could be the biggest shot of his career. There's only one problem. You noticed something. Maybe his ball moved, maybe his club touched something it shouldn't have. Whatever it was, the referees completely missed it. But you have the replay. And back then, one phone call from your living room could turn that tiny mistake into a penalty, a lost tournament, or even a disqualification. It sounds insane today, but TV viewers once had that kind of power in professional golf. Here are the 25 most controversial golf moments where TV viewers ruined golfers' tournaments. We start with a penalty handed down by a man who was sitting on his sofa in England, 4,000 miles from the golf course, doing absolutely nothing except watching Sky Sports. Third round of the 2014 Players' Championship. Justin Rose, reigning U.S. Open champion, is chipping from behind the 18th green at Sawgrass. He grounds his sand wedge, thinks he sees something, and immediately backs away. He checks with playing partner Sergio Garcia. He watches the replay on the video board. Officials on site look at it and see nothing. Everybody present agrees. The ball didn't move. Rose plays on and signs for a 71. Then the phone rings at TPC Sawgrass. The caller was David Probin, a European Tour rules official, watching at home on a week he wasn't officiating anything. Nobody asked him. He rang anyway. Officials went back and blew the footage up until the ball filled the screen. And there it was. Movement of maybe a fraction of an inch. 2 strokes. A 71 became a 73, and Rose went from 5 back to 7. Overnight, somebody at the tour actually read the rulebook they'd printed 4 months earlier. The one saying penalties don't apply when only high-definition technology can detect the movement. The penalty was rescinded an hour before his tee time. A professional referee ruined a man's Saturday night from his living room on his day off. Now here's proof that killing the call-in rule didn't kill the armchair referee, it just gave him a camera. August 2025, first round of the Nexo Championship at Trump International in Aberdeenshire. Sam Bairstow, 27, pulls his tee shot on the 14th miles left into fescue on an embankment, ball perched above his feet in gnarly rough. He settles over it, the ball sinks into a worse lie. Under the rules, he replaces it and takes one shot. He didn't. He played it where it lay, hit a wedge to 12 feet, 2-putted, and wrote down 5. What he didn't know was that a spectator standing to the side had the whole thing on a phone. That fan sent the clip to DP World Tour headquarters at Wentworth. By the time Bairstow walked off 18, officials had it. He initially denied knowing anything. Then they played him the video and he accepted the 2-shot penalty. 1 for not replacing, 1 for the wrong place. The 5 was a 7. He disqualified himself the next morning. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Copies of the clip circulated among players and caddies until the outrage reached the tour's disciplinary panel, who handed him a £25,000 fine, the maximum available under the Code of Behavior. No television crew, no hotline. Just one bloke, one phone, and a career-worst fortnight. Next up, a man whose entire tournament was destroyed because a stranger at home owned a stopwatch and had opinions about it. First round of the 1998 NEC World Series of Golf at Firestone. Lee Janzen, 2-time U.S. Open champion, winner at Olympic Club just weeks earlier, rolls a putt on the 17th that stops dead on the lip. He waits. So does playing partner Vijay Singh. They both stare at it, both convinced it's still creeping. Around 20 seconds later, it drops. Crowd roars. Janssen writes down a birdie 3 and gets a pat on the back. Here's the rule nobody in the field was thinking about. A ball hanging on the lip is deemed at rest after 10 seconds, and if it falls after that, you add a stroke. Janssen had roughly doubled his allowance. Somewhere in America, a viewer was watching cable coverage closely enough to time it. He called it in. Officials pulled the tape the next morning, which happened to be Janssen's 34th birthday, Chasa, and confirmed it. The 3 should have been a 4. The 78 he'd signed for should have been a 79. Incorrect scorecard, disqualified. He'd shot the second worst round in a 43-man field. He was going nowhere, it didn't matter. Somebody at home needed him gone anyway and got his wish on his birthday. This one's different because the armchair referee didn't ruin the tournament. He ruined the 6 months that came after it. September 1997, Trophée Lancôme at Saint-Nom-la-Bretèche outside Paris. Marc O'Meara wins by 1 stroke over Jarmo Sandelin. the flamboyant Swede who wore snakeskin boots and once got see-through shirts banned from the European tour. O'Meara takes the trophy, the money, and the flight home. Meanwhile, a television viewer in Sweden had been watching the 15th green very closely. He noticed that O'Meara, over a 2.5-foot putt, appeared to replace his ball about half an inch closer to the hole than his marker indicated. Nothing happened. No official was told. No ruling was made. The tournament simply ended. Then, in March 1998, 6 months later, Sandelin wrote to O'Meara enclosing a video recording of the incident and requesting an explanation. O'Meara said he'd gained nothing intentionally, then asked both tours what to do. They told him the tournament was long over and the result stood. So Sandelin went public and demanded the trophy and the prize money back. By April, O'Meara was publicly conceding he may have misplaced the ball without meaning to. Weeks later, he won the Masters. 2 months after that, the Open. The greatest year of his career, permanently footnoted by a half-inch nobody at the golf course ever saw. Coming in next, a player who got mugged by the Couch Brigade so often it became a running joke in his own group. Start with 1991 Doral. Azinger hits into the water hazard on 18 in the first round and kicks a few pebbles away before playing his shot. Moving loose impediments in a hazard? Nobody notices. He signs his card, comes back the next day, shoots 65, and is told he's disqualified. Now jump to the 2003 Bell Canadian Open at Hamilton. Azinger's playing partner Fred Funk chips past the cup. Azinger's caddy Ted Scott pulls the flagstick out while Funk's ball is still trickling. Not Azinger, his caddy. While Azinger was somewhere else entirely. A viewer rang the tour. Officials came out afterwards and asked to inspect the group's shoes, because all the camera had captured was a pair of caddy sneakers by the pin. 2 strokes under the unauthorized attendance rule. Charged to Azinger because that's who the rulebook blamed. His 68 stayed a 68 in name only. He closed 76-70 and finished tied 48th, 12 shots behind. Officials told him the rule would probably be changed soon. It was. Ted Scott picked up the nickname Teddy 2 Strokes that day, then went on to caddy for 2 Masters champions and Scotty Scheffler. Azinger got 2 disqualifying decades of viewers with his phone number. Which brings us to the moment the armchair referee stopped being a fan on a phone and became the broadcaster itself. 2016 U.S. Women's Open at Cordval. Anna Nordqvist and Brittany Lang finish tied at 6 under and go to a 3-hole aggregate playoff. Both par the first. On the second, the par 4 17th. Nordqvist drives into a fairway bunker and takes a 5-iron away. As she does, the club head grazes a few grains of sand. Not visible to her, not visible to the referee standing right there. Not visible on the live broadcast. Both players make par. They walk to the last dead level. Then, Fox, the network televising it, rings the USGA and asks whether anyone noticed anything unusual about that bunker shot. USGA official John Bodenhamer goes into the television truck. Fox supplies a zoomed-in angle. There it is. Contact. 2 strokes. Nordqvist's 4 becomes a 6, and the timing is what makes this genuinely grim. She was told after playing her 3rd shot into 18. Lang was told before playing hers. So one player stood over her ball knowing she had a 2-shot cushion, and the other stood over hers having just learned her major was gone. Nordqvist bogeyed. Lang won by 3. A national championship, decided by a camera operator's zoom lens and a producer's curiosity. All right, let's move on to the case where the armchair referee wasn't even a fan. He was on the payroll. Second round of the 2013 BMW Championship at Conway Farms. Woods misses the first green long, ends up under the trees, and starts clearing loose impediments. A big one comes away with no issue. Then he rolls a small stick sitting beside the ball. The ball dips. Woods, looking down at the top of it, sees oscillation and nothing more. Playing partners Adam Scott and Henrik Stenson see nothing at all. No official is called because no one on that golf course believes anything happened. He makes double bogey and plays on for a 70. Meanwhile, a freelance cameraman working for PGA Tour Entertainment had filmed the whole thing. That footage went back to tour headquarters, where an editor going through the day's material thought the ball had moved and flagged it. The film was couriered back to Conway Farms. Officials reviewed it. Slugger White stopped Woods before he could sign. One shot for causing it to move, one for failing to replace it. His double bogey became a quadruple bogey 8. The 70 became a 72. Woods watched the replay again and again and never accepted it. From my vantage point, I thought it just oscillated. It was the third time that year he'd been penalized because somebody watching a screen disagreed with him. Samsung World Championship at Bighorn. Michelle Y has been a professional for 4 days. She's 15 years old, has just signed roughly $10 million a year in endorsements, and she's playing her way to 4th place and a $53,000 check. On Saturday, she takes an unplayable and drops from a desert bush by the 7th green. Standing a few yards away is Michael Bamberger, a Sports Illustrated reporter who thinks the drop looks too close. He paces it out afterwards. He satisfies himself something's wrong. Then he goes back to his hotel and does nothing about it. Wee signs her card that evening, unaware. He raises it with LPGA officials the following day. 2 rules officials walk Wee and her caddy back to the 7th, string in hand, and measure. The ball had been dropped 12 to 15 inches too close. 2 strokes she'd had no chance to add. Incorrect scorecard. Disqualified in tears from her professional debut. Here's the part that makes it indefensible. Bamberger himself said he didn't believe she'd cheated, and had he simply mentioned it before she signed, it's 2 shots and a story nobody remembers. Instead, he waited a full day and became the story. Up next, an armchair referee who didn't even see anything. He heard about it and rang in anyway. Friday of the 2013 Tour Championship at East Lake. Stenson is warming up on the range when he hears a noise he doesn't like. Hits a few more and realizes the face of his 4-wood has caved in. He shows it to Steve Stricker, who confirms the obvious. A cracked face makes the club non-conforming, and non-conforming clubs cannot be carried, let alone hit. Stenson makes the correct call instantly. He puts the club in his locker and walks to the first tee with 13. Word of the broken club got around. And somewhere out there, a television viewer heard about it and rang the PGA Tour to ask whether Stenson had shoved it back in the bag. Think about the accusation being made here. Not, I saw him do something. Just, I heard a rumor, and I'd like the leader investigated, please. Officials had to pull him aside after his round to check. Carrying it would have been 4 shots. Using it would have been disqualification. He had, of course, done nothing wrong. He shot 66 with 13 clubs, led by 4 at halfway, won the tournament, and collected the $10 million FedEx Cup. Stenson, who destroyed his driver on purpose 3 days earlier, joked nobody was going to believe the 4-wood died of natural causes. Now, this one arrived by social media, which in 2011 was a genuinely new way to have your season opener taken off you. Opening round of the Tournament of Champions at Kapalua. Villegas is trying to chip up a steep slope on the 15th, and twice the ball climbs and rolls straight back down at him. On the second attempt, with the ball still trickling toward him, he flicks a few loose bits of grass out of its path. Half a second. Instinctive. Nobody on the golf course reacts because nobody on the golf course thinks anything happened. A man watching from his couch in Daytona Beach thought otherwise. He looked up Rule 23-1 on the USGA website, confirmed his hunch, and fired off a tweet. His friend went back to the DVR. Then they emailed the PGA Tour's media official at Kapalua. By then, the round had been finished for hours and the card was signed. 2 strokes for removing a loose impediment while a ball was in motion. Incorrect scorecard. Disqualified. The following day was his 29th birthday. Slugger White, the tour's own vice president of rules, said flatly that it made him sick. Nobody had caught it before the card was signed. Ian Poulter went on Twitter and used the word snitch about a fellow adult. Villegas turned up next morning, stuck his thumb out at White like a hitchhiker, and took it on the chin. Then there's the case where the armchair referee watched a 4-time major champion suffer and decided the suffering wasn't quite enough. First round of the 2012 Scottish Open at Castle Stewart. Ernie Els finds a greenside bunker at the par 5 6th and then simply cannot get out of it. 1 attempt, 2, 3, 4 shots inside the sand before he finally escapes. He walks off with a double bogey 7 and, by his own description, had been digging a grave in there. He grinds out a 2 under 70 anyway, which is a small act of heroism given what happened on 6. Then a viewer rings the European Tour to report that during all that flailing, Els may have grounded his club in the sand. So senior referee Andy McPhee has to pull one of the game's most respected players aside after his round and tell him a stranger has accused him of cheating during the most humiliating hole he's played all year. 2 more strokes would have made it a 9. Officials reviewed the footage and found nothing. No penalty. The 7 stayed a 7. Els's response was to point out that a 9 there would have been a world record for a man who was 10 feet from the green in 2. He missed the cut. 7 days later, he won the Open Championship. All right, this next one exposes the whole ugly logic of the armchair referee in a single afternoon. Thursday of the 2013 U.S. Open at Merion. Adam Scott is 2 months removed from winning the Masters, and he's drawn the most watched 3-ball in golf. Woods and McIlroy. Every shot on camera, every shot in slow motion, every shot on 1,000 screens simultaneously. On the 5th, Scott pulls his tee shot left of the fairway and inside a hazard line where grounding your club is forbidden. He plays out, makes bogey, and carries on to 3 under before darkness stops play, a shot off the on-course lead. Then the calls and emails start arriving. Several of them, all from viewers who decided the Masters champion had grounded his club. USGA Vice President Tom O'Toole Jr. has to track him down afterwards and put it to him directly. They talk it through, they look at it, and the ruling is that Scott did nothing wrong. No 2-stroke penalty, nothing to answer. And here's the part that never gets said out loud. Scott wasn't reported because he did something unusual. He was reported because he was standing next to Tiger Woods. The lower half of that field could have grounded a club in every hazard at Merion, and no one at home would have been pointing a remote at it. Same tournament, same day, and somehow an even flimsier accusation. Steve Stricker is playing the par 3 third at Merion in that same opening round when his tee shot finishes on the edge of a bunker in the trees, short and left of the green. The rule's official rules it's not in the bunker, and with a pine tree blocking his swing, Stricker takes a 1-shot penalty for an unplayable lie. The green is elevated. He can't see the flag from where he's standing, so he walks up the hill a few times to have a look, the way any golfer in history would. That's it. That's the whole crime. A viewer rang the USGA to report that, in walking back and forth on the thick grass, Stricker had trampled down the area where he intended to drop, thereby improving it. O'Toole's own words on it were revealing. It's not an intent-based rule, and in light of other things, we wanted to review it. Translation, we've had so many of these calls today that we now have to chase every single one. They met with Stricker. They established he hadn't dropped anywhere near where he'd walked. No violation. Stricker said he was surprised to walk into the rules trailer and get asked about it at all. 2 players cleared in one day. 2 players who should never have been questioned. Next chapter, and this is where an armchair referee didn't just cost strokes. He cost a player her weekend, her check, and a permanent stain on her name. Friday's second round of the 2014 Canadian Pacific Women's Open. Chella Choi is on the 10th green facing a tiny putt to clean up. She places her marker beside the ball on the right of it. She lifts the ball, cleans it, and puts it back. On the left of the marker, roughly an inch from where it came from, she taps in, walks off, thinks nothing of it because there is genuinely nothing to think about at the time. Somebody watching the extended Canadian broadcast saw it, rewound it, and picked up the phone. LPGA officials reviewed the tape and took Choi into the television compound to watch herself do it. 2 strokes under Rule 16-1B, and that 2-stroke penalty pushed her exactly 1 shot the wrong side of the cut line. What happened next is the strangest part. Choi refused to accept it. She wouldn't sign her scorecard. She withdrew from the tournament instead and offered officials no explanation at all. The LPGA's own rules man said she simply gave no reason. To this day, nobody knows what she was thinking. What we do know is that a stranger with a rewind button turned an inch of carelessness into a career headline she'll never outrun. Moving on to a Hall of Famer who was thrown out of a tournament for the crime of not wanting to seize up. Second round of the 2010 Safeway Classic at Pumpkin Ridge. Julie Inkster is 50 years old, has 7 majors, has just shot 67, and is 3 shots off the lead. Then her group hits a 30-minute backup on the 10th tee. 30 minutes, standing still. So she slips a weighted donut onto her 9-iron and takes a few loose practice swings to stay warm. Nobody in her group objected. Nobody could. It affects nothing, helps nothing, and every golfer alive has done some version of it. But Rule 14-3 banned training aids during a round, and a weighted donut is a training aid. Somebody at home saw it on the broadcast and emailed the lpga. By the time Inkster was walking up the 17th fairway, the violation had already been confirmed. She finished her round and was told she was gone. Disqualified while in contention. Weeks later, she was still furious, calling the rules stupid and the call-in system stupider, and making the point that cuts through this entire list. The better you play, the more camera time you get, and the more camera time you get, the more likely a stranger removes you from the tournament. Playing well is what puts you in front of the armchair referee. This next one might be the single cruelest example on the list because Whiteford did everything right and got destroyed anyway. February 2012, Avantha Masters in India. Peter Whiteford, a Scot from Kirkcaldy, chasing his first European Tour title after leading the first 2 rounds, is playing his approach to the 18th in round 3 when he suspects his ball might have shifted. So he asks his caddy, he asks a fellow player, he even asks the television cameraman standing there. All 3 say no. He signs his card, 1 shot off J.B. Kruger's lead, and goes to bed with a chance to win. Overnight, several viewers emailed the European Tour to say the ball had moved. Officials pulled the high-definition footage in the morning. They let him tee off, then let him play a few holes, and then Chief Referee John Paramore walked out onto the golf course and told him it was over. Disqualified for signing an incorrect card. 1 shot behind the lead, playing the final round of his life. Let that sit for a second. The man asked the cameraman, and the cameraman said no. Then the camera said yes. His only mistake was trusting the 4 human beings standing next to him instead of the people at home. Here's where it gets ironic, because for once the Couch Brigade lost. And they lost to a rule they'd caused themselves. Final round of the 2017 Irish Open at Portstewart. John Rahm, 22, sharing the lead, marks his ball on the 6th green and has to shift his marker a putter head sideways to clear Daniel Im's line. Im putts. Rahm moves the marker back, replaces the ball, and putts out. On television, it looked like the ball came back slightly in front of the marker rather than beside it. Emails and calls started landing with the European Tour. Rahm was 4 clear standing on the 13th fairway when the query reached him. Chief Referee Andy McPhee reviewed it and said, essentially, yes. The ball is probably a couple of millimeters off. And no, there's no penalty because Rahm made a reasonable judgment, and players cannot be held to a precision only video can measure. That standard existed for one reason: Lexi Thompson. It had been rushed in 3 months earlier, specifically because armchair officiating had gone too far. Rahm won by 6, a tournament record. Jimmy Walker publicly fumed. Brandel Chambly fumed. Rahm's first European Tour title has an asterisk in some people's minds forever. The mob wrote the rule that stopped the mob, and they've never forgiven it. Coming up, a player who was cleared completely and still walked away damaged, which tells you everything about what these calls actually cost. Friday of the 2013 Wells Fargo Championship at Quail Hollow. Sergio Garcia is having a round. He's already chipped a 4-foot putt with a wedge on the 3rd green to hop a spike mark the width of a silver dollar. He's tweaked his back on the 10th tee badly enough that he might have to withdraw. He grinds out a 68 regardless. Then he's told a viewer has phoned in. The claim, on the 17th, marking his ball to the side to stay off Bill Haas's line, he'd replaced it in front of the marker instead, gaining an inch, maybe an inch and a half. What followed was a 45-minute review, video, on-site officials, consultations with the USGA. 45 minutes of a man sitting in a room while strangers decided whether he was a cheat. And Garcia's reaction is the thing that sticks. He told officials he'd rather take the 2-stroke penalty than have anyone believe he'd cheated. He said the way his father raised him, the game is bigger than any player in it. They cleared him. No penalty. The 68 stood. He still had to say all that out loud because someone at home reached for a telephone. All right, this is the one where the armchair referees didn't just end a tournament, they very nearly ended a career. Second round of the 2013 BMW Masters at Lake Malaran in Shanghai. Simon Dyson, a six-time European Tour winner, marks his ball on the 8th green, lifts it, and then uses the ball itself to tap down a mark directly between him and the cup. Almost certainly a spike mark. He does it without breaking stride. He genuinely has no memory of doing it at all. He signs for a 70 and goes into the weekend tied for second, 4 off the lead, playing some of the best golf of his season. Several television viewers had seen it and contacted European chief referee John Paramore. The review found a breach of Rule 16-1A, touching the line of the putt. 2 strokes he hadn't added, disqualified before round 3. Paramore's account is genuinely sad. He said Dyson was bitterly disappointed, had no way of explaining why or how he'd done it, and even after watching the footage said he couldn't remember doing it. But the tour wasn't finished. A disciplinary panel later fined him and handed him a suspended ban. He also lost his shot at the Race to Dubai finale, sitting 66th when the top 60 qualified. 6 years of good standing gone over a tap of a golf ball on a green in China. Now for the strangest twist in the whole genre, because this time the call-in is the only reason a man wasn't disqualified from the Masters. Second round, 2013, the par 5 15th at Augusta. Woods' wedge from 87 yards strikes the flagstick and spins back into the water. He drops, plays again, makes bogey, signs for a 71 and sits 3 off the lead. Watching at home was David Ager, a Champions Tour player who'd previously worked in rules for both the USGA and the PGA Tour. He rewound it. He noticed a divot hole in the fairway on the second attempt that hadn't been there on the first, a few feet ahead of where Woods dropped. Ager didn't have Fred Ridley's number, so he texted Mickey Bradley, a tour official he knew was at Augusta. Bradley forwarded it to Ridley at 6:59 that evening, while Woods was still on the course. Ridley looked, saw nothing worth raising, and never spoke to Woods before he signed. Then Woods went on television and cheerfully explained he'd dropped 2 yards back for a better yardage. 2 strokes. And the only thing that spared him disqualification for the wrong card was that the committee had already reviewed Ager's tip and cleared him. Under Rule 33-7, they waived it. The armchair referee cost him 2 shots and saved his green jacket bid in the same phone call. And then came the one that finally broke golf's patience with the whole thing. Final round of the 2017 ANA Inspiration at Mission Hills. Lexi Thompson is 22 years old, leading by 3 and playing beautifully. She walks off the 12th green, and a rules official is waiting for her. Someone had emailed the lpga. Not that day, about the day before. On Saturday's 17th green, Thompson had marked a 1-foot putt and replaced her ball roughly an inch from where she'd lifted it. Nobody in her group saw it. No official saw it. She had no idea. 2 strokes for playing from the wrong place. 2 more for signing an incorrect card. 4 shots delivered mid-round in the middle of a major by a stranger with an email address. Her first words were, "Is this a joke?" Told it wasn't, she said, "That's just ridiculous." She went from 3 ahead to 1 behind, with 6 holes left, and she still fought back, still forced a playoff, and still lost it to So-Yeon Ryu. Golf's biggest names lost it. Ricky Fowler said nobody outside the officials should be able to make that call. By December that year, the R&A and USGA had banned viewer call-ins entirely and put dedicated officials on the broadcast instead. 37 years of couch justice finally killed. Roughly a day too late for Lexi. Let's go back to where it all began, because every player on this list is downstream of one phone call in 1980. Final round of the Amoni Tournament of Champions at La Costa. Tom Watson is cruising with a big lead. Alongside him is Lee Trevino, who is not playing well and is being audibly unhappy about it. Watson, winning comfortably, feeling generous, offers him a tip about his stance and ball position. A friendly word between 2 of the greatest players alive. Genuinely decent behavior. Unfortunately, a microphone on the tee picked it up. And under Rule 8-1, you cannot give advice to a fellow competitor. A viewer listening at home called the resort. The message was relayed to tour officials, who caught Watson at the scorer's tent and asked him about it. Watson admitted it immediately. 2 strokes, he won anyway by 3. And note the detail that makes it survivable. They got to him before he signed. Had that call come 10 minutes later, the winner of the Tournament of Champions would have been disqualified for kindness. Trevino wasn't penalized because he hadn't asked for the advice. That was the precedent. Golf looked at a stranger reporting a private conversation between two friends, decided it counted, and opened a door that stayed open for 37 years. And finally, the proof that banning the phone calls solved nothing at all because the cameras never went anywhere. July 2025, second round of the Open Championship at Royal Portrush, the course where Shane Lowry lifted the claret jug in 2019. He's playing beautifully, he's in contention. This is a homecoming. Then the par 5, 12th. His drive finds the left rough. He takes a practice swing, plays his second, makes par, and walks on completely unaware that anything has happened. Because nothing visible did. Playing partner Scotty Scheffler later said that in that rough, it was very hard to tell whether the ball moved at all. The broadcast cameras, however, had been zoomed in tight. 3 holes later, an official told Lowry there was a possibility his ball had moved on 12. After his round came a 20-minute review. The R&A ruled his club had touched foliage, the ball had moved, and the movement was discernible to the naked eye. A test satisfied, in their words, whether or not the player was actually looking at the ball. 1 shot for causing it, 1 for the wrong place. A 70 became a 72. He made the cut by 1. Lowry took it rather than be branded a cheat on social media overnight. Then he caught a virus, shot 74, and finished nowhere. 6 years earlier, the same course had given him everything. This time, a camera lens took it back. Let's rewind further because the armchair referee isn't a modern invention. He's been around since golf was in standard definition and the phone was attached to a wall. 1982 Moni Tournament of Champions at La Costa. Ron Streck, a Tulsa pro nicknamed the Milestone Man, the first player on tour to win with a metal wood, finds his ball with a branch hanging in the way of his swing. So he snaps the branch off and plays his shot, improving your area of intended swing. 2 strokes, and the sort of thing that, in a pre-television world, would have lived and died on that fairway with nobody the wiser. Except now there were cameras. And viewers with telephone numbers. They rang the tour. The tour looked at it. Streck got his 2 strokes. The mercy in Streck's case is timing. The call came in on the same day before he'd signed for a wrong score, so he escaped disqualification. That's it. That's the entire difference between Streck and the dozens of players who came later and lost entire tournaments. Pure luck about how fast somebody at home reached for the phone. This is where it started. 1 branch, 1 snitch, and 40 years of precedent. Every player on this list can send Ron Streck a thank you card.